Hello and welcome to this Hangout. This Hangout on Air is live. Yeah, I was supposed to be at work today, but they had some very bad storms and tornadoes in southeastern Louisiana yesterday, and that affected me, not directly, but indirectly. So I think I'll probably be going to work today, but it's going to be late, so it's disrupted the whole schedule, right? Okay, so you say, well, I'm not interested in that. I'm not a person that watches vlogs, video logs. Okay, I'm not either. I don't watch people's vlogs. Fair enough. I'm just telling you why I'm on right now. Yeah, sometimes I'll be on at 5:30 a.m., but usually not 8:17 a.m. Central Daylight Time. But the topic of this video, which I was thinking about doing yesterday, but I just ran out of time, it really wasn't going to work out, is D-Day was not the or a turning point of World War II. See what I'm saying? Was not the or a turning point of World War II. I think I'll put the link in some of the little chat groups I'm in, but I doubt anyone will join because A, they're not interested, and B, they're certainly not interested in war military history, because those are beer hangout groups, which that makes sense. Okay, but just in case any of them might have an interest, I'll post that. D-Day discussion. I'll let them know what it's about. At least give them got to copy the link. Would help. So I talked about this on Facebook yesterday. Oh, and I'm drinking. You say, oh no, yeah, the original Club Tales Bahama Mama, 10% premium cocktail, strange product, got an orange flavor. It tastes like an orange popsicle, which I crave drinking 0% of the time in my life. Look at this orange thing. Looks like a melted popsicle. Restore Our History says, does Congress deserve a raise? House votes next week on a $4,500 pay increase. Yeah, that's another topic. A lot of people on Facebook will talk about Congress should be term limited. I don't agree with that. Congress should not get a pay raise. I don't agree with that. I agree that they don't vote correctly. Their policies are poor, but it goes back to the voters. Like, if you elect bad candidates, right, then they will do bad things. People want to address the symptom instead of the disease. Term limits, no, not a good solution. Not paying congressmen, another bad solution. So, okay, let's see, D-Day discussion. So I'll post that there just for general interest. Don't think I'll get any takers. That's okay. Not even looking for people to join. All right, but I don't want them to say, why you didn't invite me? Because I always believe people should be invited, and you, the viewer, could join if you have something to say. But so yesterday, the 75th anniversary of the Normandy invasion, Operation Overlord. All these different names for it. The invasion of German-occupied France, D-Day, Demarcation Day, whatever you want to call it. We know what it is. It's when the United States, Great Britain, and Canada, the Dominion of Canada, part of the British Commonwealth of Nations, invaded northwestern France at Normandy. Okay, and I was listening last night to recorded Columbia Broadcast System, CBS, reports, and it went on for like 2 hours. I didn't listen to all of it. It's like 4 and a half hour video, audio, and they were saying, we don't have any confirmation. It's just the German information services saying that the invasion has begun and the Allies are attacking. But they were saying this could be just a German trick, whatever. But the BBC is saying that all civilians should get immediately get away from 22 miles near the coastline and all this. So they were saying they thought it was a actual the invasion, expected invasion had begun, but they weren't quite sure. All right, Ronnie S says, good morning, Ron. Looking forward to another great lecture, or see a lot of people at work right now. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I could get a phone call and I have to kill this right immediately, and then I would just delete it and do it another time. What's up, says Bucky Dent. Just chilling, drinking a bud. G and JK says, good morning. Russia played a lot bigger role in ending World War II than they get credit for in the USA. The Russians were angry yesterday. Russia Today website said they were saying what I'm saying. The turning point in World War II, as if Russia never existed. You know, I said, yeah, right. It's so, but the reason I'm doing the video is because CBS News, which I listen to a lot, I don't agree with them a lot, but I listen to it. So they were saying this yesterday morning, I was brushing my teeth, you know, and all, and they were saying, D-Day, this is the 75th, and in Fox News also said the same thing. D-Day, this is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and it was the turning point in the war. And I said to myself, I said, how is it the turning point? And I posted that on Facebook. I said, it might have been important. It was remarkable. It was notable. It was very interesting how they got all this equipment together and landed it and all this. But it was not the turning point of the war. I can very clearly demonstrate that, okay? If you think it was the turning point of World War II, you're welcome to come on here and state your case. I don't know how you're going to back that up, but if you can do it, maybe you'll even convince me, although I believe that's an impossibility. However, I am open-minded. Many people I talk to are closed-minded. They won't entertain alternative ideas. And yeah, this Bahama Mama, okay, this is the kind of thing that would be easy to hate. It's difficult. I did a review that would be posted in about a week. It would be a very easy beer to hate and rip apart and say, oh, it's trash, you know. So you could take the lazy way out and do that. Okay. But if you want to really give some effort and try hard and do a good review, then you can't do that, because I did the research on this concoction. It really started in 1969, 50 years ago this year, as canned cocktails made with actual liquor, gin, rum, vodka, so on. For whatever reason, I'm thinking it's probably for tax purposes, probably high tax for canned liquor, regulatory problems. They converted it at some point in history, we don't know when, I don't know when, to beer-based. It's a flavored ale, okay? So as a malt-based alternative to liquor. So what they're trying to do with this product is to mimic a daiquiri. I mean, without the ice, you know, but a carbonated daiquiri flavored beer concoction. How many times in my life would I ever want to drink this? Exactly never. But it does exist, and I'm trying it. People ask me oftentimes, well, you say you don't like wheat beer, which I don't. Why are you reviewing it? Well, it exists, okay? Wheat beer exists. You can tell good ones from bad. Some of them are enjoyable to drink within a certain context. So, okay, these are very popular, these malt-based, barley malt-based beer, flavored beer products. To sit here and say, I'm going to ignore it, I won't address it because I don't like it. I don't think it's doing a service to the beer world. And then you turn right around, you would turn right around and say, now today is my video review of this Belgian ale, which is flavored with candy sugar, coriander, and other flavorings. Okay, so what you're saying is some flavored beers, for whatever arbitrary reason, should not be addressed, but other flavored beers, for some arbitrary reason, should be addressed. And I have a problem with that, okay? Would I enjoy drinking this, and do I like it? I don't really like it, and I would never enjoy drinking it, and I enjoyed the Milwaukee's Best Light that I drank 3 cans of yesterday. However, it is very well made. It does mimic a daiquiri. It is super sweet. It is like drinking a booze popsicle. Does the company hit the target they set? Absolutely. It's a bullseye. Therefore, I wouldn't feel comfortable going lower than a 92 out of 100 with it. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like let's get past that. Now, we're going back to World War II, the Second World War. My grandfather was in the war. My other grandfather was not. He was rejected for health reasons. He didn't object. He didn't want to go anyway. Okay. My mother's father, my maternal grandfather, he said, well, he graduated from Tulane University in 1943 with a medical degree. The Army came and said, okay, you guys, here's your choice. You can either volunteer and get a better kind of position, or you can be drafted and maybe don't get the better position. What do you want to do? They said, well, we'll volunteer, you know. So he did. And I've got a photo of him in his uniform, you know, all of that, getting married. All right. He got married before he went to the war. That's another story. A comical story, really. But anyway, he was not at D-Day. He landed there 4 days after. He was at D-Day +4. So the fighting was far down the road by the time he got there. He could hear maybe, you know, rumbling. But he slept on the beach. He said he woke up. He got climbed under a Jeep and he went to sleep and he woke up and a cow was looking at him. He just, like at 6 in the morning, a cow. He said, whoa, I jumped. I said, what'd you think about that? He said, it was better than a German looking at me, pointing a gun in my face. It's a good point. Okay, now, Jeremy Vincent says, I'm at work. I should be at work right now, but I can't control tornadoes. You know what I mean? Come on, Ron. You know the United States made the world safe for democracy and has been doing that for over 100 years now. Wink, wink. Yeah, sure. Okay. I think it's very clear, and it's interesting because CBS and Fox War Network, Fox News Network, I said Fox War Network. Why would I say that? They said, oh, it was the turning point. And then CBS Radio News said the same thing. I said that must have been a talking point they gave out. It was in their copy, their script. Was the turning point of the war, but they never would say why it was the turning point. And I said, no, it was not a turning point. Nothing changed after D-Day. And I made an analogy. I said it was like if you were driving to the grocery store to buy some salad, bagged salad. You were going a certain miles per hour. Suddenly you accelerated, and then you got there much faster than originally expected. That's not a turning point. There's no point in which things really changed. They accelerated. You didn't change your goal going to that particular store. You didn't change what you were going to buy, the salad. Okay, so D-Day did not change anything. The goal was the same, defeat Germany. Okay, National Socialist Germany, so-called Nazi Germany, but in actuality, the true name is National Socialist Germany. But of course, you know, a lot of socialists in the major media don't want to associate their beloved socialism with that type of socialism, so they use that made-up term Nazi, which is not an actual term, I might add. All right. It was simply invented by the British media because it was a lot easier to say Nazi, 2 syllables, instead of saying National Sozialistische Deutschlander Arbeiterparty. You know, it's kind of a mouthful, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Okay, anyway, so, and I noticed another thing on the news. They always say the Nazis had troops there. The Nazis were fighting here, but they never say Germany, because they're trying to disassociate the political party from the actual nation state, the Reich, the nation empire, which is not good history because, in fact, you see, they make it seem like the National Socialist Party had some kind of a control over the people in the sense that the German people did not support the government and were captives, you see, prisoners of their own country. But that's not true, actually. The National Socialist German Workers' Party government, the government of Germany, enjoyed a widespread support from the population throughout the war, up until the last days of the war. So it was Germany. Germany did this. Okay, it wasn't some like people who just were under some compulsion to support. It was a widespread national support. Now you say, "Oh, you're defending it." I'm not defending it. I say it's supported by the people. Whether you like that or not, you say, "Well, I want to excuse the German people from negative events of World War II." I mean, you could do whatever you want to do, but it's not the reality. Okay. Hannah Reich said, "The German people are ashamed of the war, but they're ashamed because they lost." She never said they were ashamed of their behavior in the war. You see. But that's politically correct history, the idea of that. And so we don't do that here on this channel. We do real history, you see, so that's the difference. My grandfather was actually there on D-Day, says Ronnie. He joined the Merchant Marines because he couldn't join the Navy due to a problem with his hearing, I believe. Bucky Den says, or your socialist friend, BD. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of socialists out there. And they love socialism as long as it doesn't negatively affect their pocketbook. You'll notice that. In other words, they're down with OPP. You know me. They're down with other people's property, but they're not necessarily down with TPP, their personal property. All right. James Neal says D-Day opened the second front in France. Now, that was a third front, actually, because Italy was the second front. So there's an error there in your. On June 21st, 1944, Operation Belgration started in Belarusia, which destroyed Army Group Center. Okay, yes, that's right. The Germans were in rapid collapse on the Eastern Front. I don't know what that has to do with this, but Ronnie S. says, was there any time machines involved in D-Day? Yeah. Alex, the beer master, brought up time machines. Yeah, not aware of that. By the start of July 1944, I see that you're copying and pasting things, apparently. Operation Belgration destroyed 30 German divisions. There were 40 German divisions in the whole of the Western Front, France, Belgium, and Holland. Oh, I see you're trying to say that the vast majority of the German military power was on the Eastern Front. I think most Americans are not aware of that. They have this idea, erroneous idea, that the great German war machine was predominantly on the Western Front, meaning the Atlantic Ocean coast, defending Germany, which is certainly not the case. I'd say you're misrepresenting my views a little bit, Ron. Socialists aren't all crazy. I never said socialists were crazy at all. I didn't say any of them were crazy, okay? So I don't know. I never said a socialist was crazy. I didn't say that. I've said many things about socialists in my life, but I never said they were crazy. They know what they're doing. They're not detached from, they don't hear voices. I mean, there may be some, but I'll say in general, socialists are not somebody that hears voices and sees things that aren't there, like has hallucinations or has delusions, believe things that aren't true. Like people that are crazy have delusions. They think that if they get cable TV, the government will watch them through the television, things like that. All right, so laughing out loud, I just misrepresented your views. Sorry about that. That's right. You did. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to World War II. Someone asked me, I got to get some water now. Someone asked me yesterday, I believe it was Jeff Brister. He said, no, it was him and the other people. Patrick Tucker. Patrick O'Donnell. He said, well, I think the turning point was the invasion of Russia, Operation Barbarossa, June 22nd, 1941. I said that in some ways was a turning point in the sense that, well, I didn't actually write all that, but it changed, it like flipped the war. But I said, I'm contending that the turning point was the defeat of Germany in the Battle of Britain in the later part of 1940. This is the real important part of the war. Don't worry about CBS News. They just like to say things. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. I've heard, G and JK said, I've heard in Germany they don't teach much about the Holocaust. I don't know if this is true or though. I really have no knowledge about German educational policy, so I couldn't tell you whether they do or not. Cicero IS, the name says, hey, how is your weather out there, my man? What are your take on the film Saving Private Ryan? The weather's hot and humid, overcast. Saving Private Ryan, I don't know how that won Best Picture. I guess there weren't many good movies made in 1998. It was a horrible film, in my opinion. They have some good scenes, but Godzilla versus Megalon has good scenes, like when the lake drains of water, although it's a horrible movie. Saving Private Ryan is a fantasy movie. It's ridiculous. It's totally incoherent. It's improbable. And it's all around terrible. All right. Anyway, so I hate that movie, actually. It's horrible. All right. In my opinion. The Soviets never thought that North Africa, Sicily, and Italy were the second fronts. The Soviets considered the invasion of France the second front, says James Neal. Oh, okay. Well, this video production is not made according to Soviet guidelines, so that would probably be the reason that I differ from Bolshevik informational sources, I think. Louisiana Movie Review, says Bucky Dent. Yes, I could do that. All right. So I'm sure Stalin was definitely not in favor of an Italian land front. That was the second front. You would have to be totally detached from reality to argue against that. Because Stalin wanted to control the Balkan Peninsula, and if the Allies had invaded Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia, that could have blocked his ambitions in Eastern Europe. And so why would you want the Western Allies having a military presence in the Balkan Peninsula and Austria and Hungary in 1944, when it would be much better for your Russian imperialism to have the Western Allies dilly-dallying in France throughout 1944 while you ring up win after win on the Eastern Front? I can understand Stalin's opinion, yes. If I was an evil imperialist who had no regard for human life, I would have the same opinion. I certainly can't argue with that. I certainly can't argue with it. Ronnie S. says, when you finish up these World War II topics, can you get into some World War I stuff? I might. I was always interested in that war and how it's kind of glossed over and overshadowed by World War II. Right. That's a big problem, because World War I and World War II are basically the same war. They are the same war, but it's really should be titled the World War Part 1 and the World War Part 2. Okay, with a break in between, an intermission, if you want to call it that. American war movies, says G and JK, feel like commercials to join up and be a hero, at least to me, some of the time. A lot of American war movies are made in conjunction with the Department of Offense. Did it again. Sorry, folks. The Department of Defense. And so just like 2001: A Space Odyssey, made with a lot of help from NASA, so that would make total sense that they feel that way. Good point, G and JK. The movies are part of the American war machine, the military-industrial complex. This is true. Good point. The Germans did the same thing during World War II. Did the same thing what? I'm not following what your comment is. I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm not following what you're saying. Okay. All right. So what would be the best choice for the turning point? The, not a turning point of World War II, but let's call it the turning point of the Second World War, or more accurately, the World War Part 2. We're part of the, we in 2019 are part of the World War Part 3, because I divide the World War into 3 sections: 1914 to 1919, Part 1; 1939 to 1945, Part 2; and then 1944 to the present day, the World War Part 3, or the so-called Cold War. So I think that's a better way of looking at it. And I could set that all up for you, and I think I could pretty much present that very accurately to you. Oh, propaganda films, Triumph of the Will. Oh, from 1935. That was Leni Riefenstahl. Yep, I'm quite familiar with Triumph des Villains. All right, I would say that the turning point was Stalingrad. That would be a turning point on the Eastern Front. But let me demonstrate to you why the Battle of Britain was the turning point. So you would say the Cold War never ended. No, it did not. Although we were lied to in 1992 by George H.W. Bush and all of his apparatchiks that the Cold War is over. But I didn't believe it. And then Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and Barack Hussein Obama and Trump showed us that the Cold War certainly has not ended. Has not ended. No, hasn't ended. It never ended. It should have ended. Yes, it should have ended. I agree with that. You've never met a person more dedicated to ending the Cold War than myself. Okay, maybe Nixon, maybe Nixon. But let's go to this map. All right, let me demonstrate to you why. If you'll tolerate me for a moment, I'll demonstrate to you why I'm saying this. I'll go to screen share. It'll be a little wanky for a moment. The British people always laugh when I say that. They said, "Oh dear, wanky. Do you know what that means over here in merry old England?" I say, "Yeah, I don't really care." But it's funny. It's just clever. All right. But anyway, well, let's look at this map. Here's a map of pretty much what Europe looked like on the time when D-Day started, the invasion of Normandy. So we have Europe, everything in white. You say, why got to be white? Well, that's the color the United States Army chose. White is German occupied territory, okay? Greece, Bulgaria, and allies. I'm sorry, German occupied territory and their allies. Because Finland, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria were not occupied by Germany. They were simply in Slovakia, sorry, were not occupied by Germany, really. They were allies of Germany. Then we have occupied territory: Northern Italy, France, Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Bohemia, Moravia, Czechia. All right, Austria was part of Germany as of 1938. We can't call it occupied. Albania was occupied by Italy, and then later Germany, because Italy was, well, it was sort of like if you're allied with Pee-wee Herman, but less competent than Pee-wee Herman. And then we've got Cyprus, a British colony until 1960. French occupied, Allied occupied French Algeria, French Tunisia, Allied, occupied Italy, Sardinia, the mainland, Sicily, Allied occupied France. Here we have the Soviet Union in red, you see. The United Kingdom of Great Britain. What is Great Britain, by the way? Scotland, England, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. Ireland stayed neutral. Sweden stayed neutral. Spain stayed neutral. Switzerland stayed neutral. Turkey stayed neutral until the last days of the war when they declared war on Germany. But that was on paper only. There was no active involvement in the war on Germany. That was just, well, you know, the Turks say, well, hey, obviously Germany's down for the count. It's over for them. We may as well get in cahoots with the Allies so we can take advantage of that post-war. Plus, they were concerned about their friendly neighbor to the north, the Soviet Union, who had been attacking them since about 1688, 1688. Okay, so let's look at the map. We have the Allies heading up the peninsula of Italy, almost to Rome, which they did capture on June 4th. All right. But let's go back to why this was a turning point. Check the comments real fast. Sofa says the Cold War is over. I saw Hillary Clinton push a reset button on with Putin. Yeah. Ronnie says the media is now trying to make it that we're in a new Cold War. New? No, it ain't new. But like you said, why can't we be friends with Russia? Right. Why can't we be friends with Russia? Because John Bolton says, I don't like them. Allied with Pee Wee Herman, laughing out loud. Wasn't there a movie where Pee Wee joined the U.S. Army? I don't know. Pauly Shore was in the Army now. Okay. Back to this. Oh, right. Now, let's go back to 1940, shall we? 28 years before I was born. Ha, ha, ha. True story. Now, so we have Germany, 1940. They had conquered Poland to about this line here, where I'm putting this cursor. The Soviet Union had invaded Poland from the east and occupied eastern Poland, as according to the agreement at the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact, August 23rd, 1939. All right. Russia had occupied eastern Finland by attacking them, this area here, all of this. They occupied and conquered Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, making them part of the Soviet Union against their will. They took eastern Poland and annexed it to White Russia, which is still part of White Russia today. Belarus means White Russia, the lighter-skinned Russians. And this part, Lvov, or Limburg, the Germans call it Limburg, Lvov, annexed to Ukraine. All right, still part of Ukraine today. Now, the Germans said, oh, well, you know, no big deal, because that was part of our deal. You get big slices of Eastern Europe. You allow us to annex Western Poland. And we bring the situation back to July 28th, 1914, when Germany, Austria, and Russia occupied and controlled Poland. Remember, Poland had ceased to exist in 1796 as a country. They were occupied by Germany, or I should say Prussia then, but Germany after 1871, Austria, Austro-Hungarian Empire after 1867, and the Russian Empire. So the Germans and the Russians wanted to recreate the map of Europe largely back to where it was before World War I. Okay. And even Hitler said, well, hell, why are we in a big contest with Russia? Because we're a natural ally with Russia. Germany and Russia are natural allies. We both want the same thing, to dominate Europe, or at least Eastern Europe. They're Soviet socialists and we're National Socialists. But like Hitler said, we are both socialists. All right. We believe in government control of capital, the means of production, totalitarian ideology, etc. All right. Like he supposedly, now this is Schirrer, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and I don't know if you can necessarily trust that. You probably can't trust it. But he said that Hitler claimed, why did I team up with Franco in Spain? I picked the wrong side. I should have helped the government because at least they were socialists. Franco's a damn Catholic, you know. All right. Or a Catholic. Hitler didn't really believe in cursing. He took, according to Schirrer, he took offense to people using bad language at the dinner table or any setting. And also he was a very big anti-smoking advocate, which you might find interesting. The German government under the National Socialist German Workers' Party was the first government to actively advocate to not smoke tobacco. And he believed in a vegetarianism. He didn't believe in eating meat because he said it was cruel to animals. Actually, a true story. All right. Anyway, so 1940, 39, the Germans attacked Poland from the west and the north and the southwest. The Soviets, 17 days later, attacked from the east. Now, France and Great Britain made all these big promises to Poland. Stand up to those Germans. Resist. We'll help you. Well, of course, that was empty talk because when the Germans invaded, England and France did virtually nothing to help Poland. So the Poles would have done much better letting Germany have the two highways across Poland to connect Eastern Germany to the rest of Germany, a railroad and a highway. Now imagine, it would have been insulting you letting a foreign country build a highway and a railroad track across your country. You let them take over Danzig here, which is 99% German people. Okay, but on the other hand, there's no war involved. On the other hand, your country stays independent. On the other hand, you would probably gravitate toward German friendship, which you already had a non-aggression pact with Germany, to resist the communist threat from the Bolsheviks in Moscow. Something to consider. But these sherry drinking, hot cross bun eating British fellows and these French frog eating, mussel sea snail eating heavy sauce using French people guarantee your independence to resist Germany. But then when the chips are down and you get attacked, yeah, no French or British troops show up to help. That's too bad. Well, at least you fought hard, old boy. Oh, well, 60,000 of you people are killed. You lose your independence. But it's all part of the bigger plan. Oh, so you should be honored to die for us. All right. Now, but why nitpick? Now, so after the attack on Poland, a very evil attack, I'll say that, Hitler tells the British Prime Minister Chamberlain, he says, well, or I should say, well, let's call it off. Hell, Poland's gone. You hadn't done anything to help them anyway. None of your cities have been bombed. None of our cities have been bombed. We've lost a lot of people in the war against Poland, but not, terrible. You haven't lost anyone, basically. We've had some little tit-or-tat fighting on the ocean. So he's telling the British, well, let's just call it off. Forget it. And then Chamberlain, who supposedly supported appeasement, but there's strong evidence that that was not really the case. The mass media notwithstanding, FDR notwithstanding, They say, no, 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 we're not going to have peace. We're going to fight you. We don't trust you. You can understand that they don't trust him because he did have a tendency to make up lies and violate his promises. So then the war at sea escalates in 1939, 1940, right? Then Finland gets attacked by Russia, which gives the Germans a very uncomfortable feeling of their security. They were watching this in Berlin. They're watching this attack, and they're not so comfortable because Finland had been a long-time German ally. But they're watching it, and they're seeing that the Soviet armies are not performing so well against Finland. Finland's not a strong country. So they say, maybe we were overly concerned about the Russian military machine. Perhaps they're not so good. Probably they're not really good. They put that in there to be considered later a box. All right. So Hitler tells England, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, let's call off the war before too much damage has been done. The British say no. Okay. So let's read some comments before we go on to the turning point. Ernest joined the army in the movie as well. Okay. Do you think Americans should always have access to healthcare, or if you can't afford it, oh well? I think what you're asking me is, should the government supply healthcare? The United States government should certainly not supply healthcare because there's no delegated power in the Constitution. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the United States government should supply health care. If a state wants to do it, that's their business. I wouldn't recommend it. Jeff Mathis says, hail, for some reason. Bucky Dent said, I'd say health care is a right. Okay. But we need to do single payer, not a hybrid system like United Kingdom or Canada. I'm pretty sure Bucky Dent knows where I stand on that, being a free enterprise guy, you know. I'm a free enterprise guy. All right. Hello, Alex.
Good morning, Ronnie.
Good morning, and I'm getting to the sort of like climax of this video.
Meaning it's almost done, you're saying? Sorry, I just woke up.
I'm getting toward the end. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Now, we're talking about 1940. Here's Germany. The British say, no, we're not going to end the war. The Germans say, okay, well, that's on you. We gave you the chance. You don't want to end it. We're going to end it our way. I mean, they tell the French that too. The French, whatever the British say, the French go along. They're sort of like England's lackey. Their junior partner. That's a good term. Hitler, I'm not a fan of his military ability, really. But he did have a good plan, and the German High Command had a good plan. They're not going to come blasting through Brussels like in 1914 and come out to the coast and go around Paris. Well, you know, that didn't work out because in 1914, they went around to the coast and then they turned into Paris this way, in front of Paris, exposing their flank. And then the French, under who was a Gamelin, counterattack and pushed the Germans back to the Marne River, and it was a fiasco for Germany, and they lost the war. It just took them 4 years to lose it, but they had lost it. They really had lost it in September 1914. Okay. So Hitler says, we're not going to get caught up in that again. But let's do a feint. Let's blast through the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg here towards the sea. The Allies, meaning Great Britain, France, and then Belgium, will take the bait, and they'll rush troops to the front lines here, where I'm putting this cursor. While they rush their troops up to here, we'll bring the vast majority of the German firepower through Luxembourg, Belgium, and this part of France. It's called the Ardennes Forest. Hilly, swampy, full of rivers, No one would have expected the Germans could actually break through there, but they did with pontoon boats, bicycles, and all kind of other improvised things. Brilliant idea. So here's the Allied troops up here at the front. The Germans come down here, west of the Maginot Line, south of the vast majority of the troops, and start breaking through the area here around Sedan, which people that know about the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 will be familiar with. Now the Germans are behind the Allies, and they start heading toward the coast. The Allies realize, oh, Lord, we've fallen into a trap. Our entire army, French, Belgian, and British, have German troops to our east and our south. So now they're in a trap. They start racing toward the sea to be evacuated from Dunkirk, France, over to England. The French say, this is bad because now we've got German troops heading toward Paris and there's no way to stop them, not any realistic way. And we have no choice but to give up. And plus, we noticed that the British air service is not showing up for the daily battles. Now, the French and the British have numerous conferences throughout 1940, the spring. Here's Churchill, the new prime minister, saying, well, Chamberlain and then Churchill saying, don't give up, you French guys. Keep fighting to the death. And the French say, well, yes, but there's a problem. You're telling us fight to the death, but we noticed that your airplanes don't show up for the daily battles. And the British say, well, don't worry about that. We're the geniuses. You aren't. We eat very good food, and you eat French stuff like eels and put heavy sauce on everything. And so you're an inferior people. And so you need to do what we're telling you to do. And the French say, well, we're a proud country. Well, who the hell are you to tell us what to do? The British said, look, here's the deal. You cannot surrender to Germany. And the French say, we can do whatever we want to do. And the British say, no. Okay. The British say, we got a better deal. Here's a better deal. You can surrender to Germany. All you got to do is turn over your entire navy to England. And secondly, we have this other project, which is a wonderful project. You can declare that France is now a dominion united with England, that France is now part of England. We're a united country. The French say, what? What are you talking about? And the British say, oh, you know, we'll all fight to the death. And the French say, you mean fight to our death? The British say, oh, no. We'll be a united country, the union of France and Great Britain, under our guidance and authority, of course. The French say, no, we don't want to resist coming under somebody's control so that we can come under your control. And so France just say, no, 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 we're going to give up. It's over. We lost. What are you talking about? So France gave up June 22nd, 1940, and their country gets occupied, Western France and Northern France. Now, the rest of France, this area here, they moved the capital to Vichy, and the rest of France is under the control of General Pétain, who's almost 90 years old, like a real old man, you know. Okay. And they give up. And the British say, oh, well, you're ready to turn over your navy to us? And the French say, no. So then the British, being British, they go down to Algeria and Egypt, and they start to bombard the French Navy. And to the French ships that were quarantined in England, they attack the French. So now thousands of French soldiers, sailors, are killed by British Navy forces. Because this is the real England. This is the true England. This is not, you know, people make fun of England. They say, oh, those British people, they say funny words. They cross their legs like women. they're awkward. They have bad teeth, and they say by golly and lorry for truck. This is a very bad understanding of England, because you say, oh, they're comical people. They're caricatures. They're not like real people. No, these are, you don't understand the ruthless nature of the British Empire since 1688. Don't fall into the trap, you see. So the British, then they say, these are very dangerous people. These are not people to play games with. So the French found this out. The French sort of took the British as, these bastards, but they find out these are very lethal people. These are dangerous people. They will kill you without any hesitation. So now the Germans realized this. They knew this all along. So the Germans said, okay, going to be a bad situation. So they tried to negotiate and say, look, let's call the war off. We've got France. They're out the war. They're out. Let's just call it a draw. Now, somebody made fun of me a week ago when I said call it a draw. Well, that's the fact. If you can show that I'm wrong, come on the internet using your real face, state your point. All right, but you're not going to do that. You got to have the guts to do that. You know what I'm saying? So you say, well, where's the turning point? Here's the turning point. You say, well, it looks like Germany's winning right now. It does, doesn't it? But the British have a lot of cards that they hold close to the vest. They don't play all their cards at once. They said, okay. Now, they say, we're not calling it off. No, we're going to keep fighting. And in fact, you're going down. Now, Italy, you say Italy. What about Italy? Yeah, they joined the war during the spring of 1940, very stupidly. What a stupid country. They decide to attack France and Great Britain because they thought Germany had won. And the British told Italy, they told the Italians, they say, you're making a very terrible mistake. They say, look, you need to go cook some spaghetti and lasagna and build some more Fiats, because you are going to be destroyed. If you screw with us, you are messing with a dangerous country. We're not playing games with you, Italians. I didn't call them Italians. They use a different D word. They said, we're not playing games with you. Listen here. The British say, listen here, fellows. If you play games with us, and if you enter this war, if you make this mistake, we will annihilate your country. Do you understand this? They say, oh, you go to hell. England, you go to hell. And Mussolini was very confident. The British say, well, just remember this. You remember this lesson that we're going to teach you. If you join this war, you will not be the leader of Italy for long, and your country is going to be annihilated. You can do what you want to do. You feeling strong? Join the war. So Italy joins the war, and they prove their abject incompetence throughout the war. The British say, well, hey, we warn you. Now get ready, because we're taking you down, and we're going to do it with very little regard for propriety and mercy or grace. And they did exactly what they predicted. The British dismembered the Italian Empire. They bombed Milan. They bombed Rome. They bombed the port cities. They destroyed the Italian Navy. The British said, you are very mistaken. You're dealing with the most dangerous country in the history of the world, and you didn't realize it, and now you're finding it out. And the Italians realize, definitely that is the case, and we're paying for it now. Well, too bad. Now, he said, where's the turning point? We're building up to that. We have to explain these things carefully. All right, let's see about comments. Ronnie S. says, don't get into healthcare arguments right now, please. Yeah, I didn't entertain those because I never let people pull me into straw man arguments. Can we ask Alex to explain his time machine theory now that he's here? No, we can't, because like you just said, let's not get off track. Sauce Money says, my grandpa was an Army lieutenant in the Pacific. Why do you think the Pacific theater isn't talked about as much? Well, the simple answer there is because it was not the theater. It was not the nexus of the crisis. In other words, the outcome of the war did not revolve around the Pacific theater. Japan was going to live or die according to whether Germany lived or died. And once Germany was gone, Japan had no chance. Well, Japan didn't have much chance to start with because they have brown skin. Ronnie says, no, it's not a racist reason. It's not a racist reason. Thomas Fleming said, arguing over political power or military strategy is one thing, but England, France, let's not argue over salt. Ha, ha, ha. Thanks for the videos and the discussion, says Thomas Fleming. You're welcome. Ronnie said, the Americans are very dangerous as well. Kind of the New English. When I say England, I mean America also. I'm talking about the senior partner and the junior partner at the same time. It's the same country doubled, okay? I got to go to work. Thanks for the video. Sorry about getting off track, says Bucky. That's okay. I have to moderate it. You know, I have to like keep things on track. I don't take that in a bad way. Hey, Alex. All right. Now, Alex, get ready because here's the climax of the video. But let me get some more. Let me get some more water because I'm kind of thirsty right now. All right.
All right. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. So now, Germany was unusually eager to end the war with England. And the British, being past masters of world management, they kind of sense that. And they say, oh, well, no, we don't think we're prepared to end the war. So the British, they say, well, how about this? You want to end the war, Hitler? Come make us end it. You know what I mean? Like, you make us drop out the war. Hitler said, oh, okay. I'll show you. Bunch of damn fish and chip eating, leg crossing, effeminate SOBs. Of course, Hitler didn't believe in cursing, you know, but that's what he's thinking. So then the Germans start to get ready to invade England. They're going to bomb all the British airfields. The Battle of Britain. And they're going to start getting together naval vessels to come across the English Channel here and invade England. Well, there's no way you can come across the English Channel and invade England if you don't have air superiority, because the British Royal Air Force, and when we say the British Royal Air Force, we mean England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Rhodesia, India, etc. Okay? The Germans realize they're in a real bad situation. They're in a real fix. Okay. They don't have a German Commonwealth of nations. They have Germany alone. You say, oh, they got Italy as an ally. Like I just said, they have Germany alone. Now, so the big air battle begins. Oh, there's only one little problem. Germany loses. You say, well, what about the bombing of the cities? Yeah, that started too in the late 1940s because the British accidentally, bombed a German city. Can't remember which one. I believe it was Hamburg. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. And they say, oh, it was a mistake. We were trying to bomb military targets. And we just happened to unleash our entire bomb load on the civilian area of the city. Hitler said, oh, want to play rough? Well, I'm a nut more than you. I'm the one, you know, Hitler said, I'm the one said we're not going to bomb the civilians. But since you want to kill German innocent people by bombing the cities, we'll play tit for tat, mother people. So the Germans start bombing the British cities, London, Edinburgh, Belfast, etc., Canterbury. The British say, civilians don't build factory. Civilians are not a factory. Civilians are not an airfield. Civilians are not an air base. So the Germans are good at making intricate dial. I said this in other videos. The Germans are geniuses at making intricate dials and gauges and valves. But they're not necessarily good at seeing the big picture. So they start to, now there's a war on civilians. The British bombing German civilian areas, area bombing. The Germans bombing British civilians. Oh. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the Germans realize they can't launch a realistic attack on the British mainland, so they call off Sea Lion, the invasion of England. Yeah. So now they're not able to invade England. The British, on the other hand, are not strong enough at this time to invade France or the Belgium and the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark. So what we have at the end of 1940 is a stalemate. Germany not strong enough to defeat England. Great Britain not strong enough to defeat Germany and Italy. You say, well, I'll just go on forever. No, not exactly, because the British have some good cards to play. And the best card they have to play is the United States of America. Who has a president? Roosevelt. Very pro-British. Strong connections to Great Britain. Advisors who are pro-British. Anglophile. Not to mention a whole cadre of communist sympathizing advisors. True story. So, well, the British start to bring in their American junior partner. And I mean, really, the Americans and the British tell Germany, what you going to do about that? What you going to do? Fight us? Because you couldn't beat Great Britain alone. So how the deuce do you think you're going to beat Great Britain with America backing them up? How is that going to happen? And Hitler's attitude was basically, I don't really know. So he's in a real fix. And that's why I say this is the turning point. The turning point of the war. And I don't care what CBS News says or CNN or Fox. The turning point of World War II or the World War Part II is when Germany failed to defeat Great Britain in the Battle of Britain. Because after that, you can see that they begin to fail. And they fail rather quickly. Okay, Alex, commentary.
What do you mean? Who failed really quickly? The Germans or the
Germans.
Okay.
Let's see some more comments. Okay, we got some good comments and some silly comments.
Oh, of course.
Well, naturally. Okay, I like beer. It makes me jolly. Good fellow, says Toby. Good to know. I got to go. Okay, I like beer. All right, I'm not even going to entertain that. Okay, Iron Man Spartan says, any war is a waste of brave men and women and children. I agree with that. War is not healthy for women and other living, for children and other living things. War is the life of the state, though, says Ronnie. Yes. It would be great if we all worked together for a better planet for everyone. Governments will never let that happen, though. That's right. Toby says, whiskey's too rough. All right, Sauce Money said, this war was absolutely necessary, unfortunately. One of the last, if not the last, completely justifiable wars, says Sauce Money. Sauce Money, I would like to know how you could say that the war was justified and necessary. I would strongly and unequivocally deny the accuracy of that statement. Ronnie says that's highly debatable. I say it's highly wrong, but that's me talking. I don't speak for Ronnie. I am English. I know the Battle of Britain broke the spirit of the Germans. By the way, I love my German cousins. The war was stupid, says Iron Man Spartan. I agree. The Unnecessary War by Pat Buchanan. Yeah, great article. Great article. Great book.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
What's Naval Chamberlain have to do with the war, though?
What?
Naval Chamberlain. What does he have to do with the war?
Oh, Neville Chamberlain.
Yeah, Naval. Yeah.
Well, he has a lot to do with it. He was the British Prime Minister until 1940.
Oh. When I saw pictures, I saw Nazi things behind him, and I thought he was a Nazi.
No. Neville Chamberlain was a British conservative, but that doesn't really mean conservative. really. But he was a British prime minister, and he was definitely not a national socialist. He didn't like Germany, but he was trying to apparently buy time. They say he was an appeaser. There's a lot of strong evidence to argue against that. Yeah, he was trying to stop Germany. He didn't like Germany, and he helped Great Britain and France maneuver themselves into war against Germany. So he's a very important person. Unfortunately, he had illness. He got very sick. He died of cancer. So,
wow.
Yeah, he wasn't able to. He had to stop being the prime minister in 1940 because he died. He was very popular in England, by the way. And Churchill, who was very popular in the United States, wasn't ever really particularly popular in England. He was seen as a grandstander, a self-promoter. If you go to England today, he's not really that well regarded. In America, he is. So he was half American. I guess that's why. I don't know. American.
He's the one that took over Naval Chamberlain's job when he passed away, though, right?
That's correct. He became the prime minister after Neville Chamberlain died, or resigned and then died quickly. All right. So now let's wrap this up. So the 1940 ends. Germany has failed in their attempt to knock Great Britain out of the war. Oh, they're in a real fix now. Because why? The British have at least parity in the air. Parity. They're equal to the German Air Force, and probably, or almost certainly better, slight superiority. And as time goes on, it will increase. Secondly, the British obviously and always have had naval superiority. So the British Navy rules, and remember, when we say the British Navy, we mean the British, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, South African Navy rules the seas. The German Navy was a nice little navy, but in no way comparable to the British Navy, and they had no chance to dominate the ocean. Sure, they could sink a lot of British commerce. They could impact British economic feasibility. But with the United States coming in to take up the British slack and help to actively violate neutrality by helping Great Britain in 1941, the British had no doubt they were going to survive. Okay. Now, who was Germany's big partner in 1940? Yeah, Italy, but I said their big partner. I didn't say their weak partner. It was the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union here and Germany had signed the Non-Aggression Pact in 1939, August 23rd. Hitler and Stalin both said, look, we are natural partners. We both want the same goals, like opposing the imperialist England and France, the United States. That's what they were saying. We both dislike the rule of the world by the imperialist powers. Or as the Germans called it, the Judeo-Masonic dominated Western powers. The Russians said the international banking, international finance capitalists, international powers are really the same viewpoint. Okay. But Germany got very paranoid because after they failed in their Battle of Britain project, they noticed that the attitude of the Soviet Union became markedly different. The Soviet Union under Stalin began to display a very uncomfortable and unnerving aggression. They became very aggressive and uncooperative against Germany. And the Germans say, "Whoa, wait a minute." They said, hey, aren't we supposed to be partners against these British bastards, you know? And the Russians say, oh, yeah, sure. But the Germans say, well, we kind of confused, you know, because all we notice is that there's this massive Soviet stockpiling of men, armor, and airplanes along the eastern German border. Here, we're talking about here where this cursor is. Right there by Memel, the German eastern city, East Prussia. central Poland here. Then the Russians occupied the Bukovina area of Romania, occupied Bessarabia here, right by the Ploesti oil fields in Romania, where Germany got almost all of their oil. So the Germans start telling the Russians, they say, well, it's very confusing because you're supposed to be partners. Like, we're teamed up. We're teamed up. National Socialism and Soviet Socialism to fight the powers that be, right? And the Russians say, oh, sure, we're teamed up. Got to fight those imperialists. The Germans said, what, I don't know, like, if we're teamed up, why do you keep stockpiling the most incredible array of air, land, and armored forces along, in history of the world, along the eastern border of Germany and her allies? And then the Russians just kept saying, oh, forget about it. Forget about it. And the Germans under Hitler got so paranoid, they say, no, what do you mean forget about it? What are you talking about? We're supposed to be working together. What is all this? And why are you charging us so much for supplies that we agreed to buy? This is highway robbery. You're charging us, extortionary prices. You're just doing that because of difficulties we're having. And the Russians say, oh, forget about it. Just forget about it. Basically, they're saying, kiss off, go to hell. And so they had a series of meetings. And the Germans were shocked, they were shocked because, like Molotov, the Russian foreign minister, they were very belligerent and even cocky. And the Germans took it as disrespectful, almost like tweaking them, saying, oh, and the Germans are very paranoid. You see, they're very paranoid people. So they say, we're winning this war. Like Hitler was telling Molotov, we're winning this war. And Molotov said, well, if you're winning the war, why is the city being bombed? And why are we in this bomb shelter? Well, Hitler didn't like that, you see. Which is a good point. You're telling me you're winning the war. You're winning. Oh, we're winning. Well, if you're winning, hell, why is Berlin being bombed? Moscow's not bombed. Minsk is not bombed. Kiev is not being bombed. Leningrad is not being bombed. But you're talking about you're winning the war. What are you talking about? So the Germans started to think, we've got trapped. We got tricked. These guys know what they're doing. They got us. They baited us into going to war with Great Britain and France so they could pile up troops along the border and invade Germany at their convenience. This is what the Germans began to think. We got set up. We fell for it. This is true. You did get set up. You did fall for it. And it was your own greed, your own stupidity. So now they're in a terrible trap. So they say, we've got to launch an attack on the Soviet Union and knock them out the war. The chances of that being successful are minimal. And so now that's why I say that the Battle of Britain was the turning point. Because Germany only had a chance to win up until 1940, October, November, at the latest. After that, no chance. Now it's only a matter of can they survive? And as it turns out, they could not. National Socialist Germany could not survive. Do I excuse it? Am I defending them? No, I'm not. They put themselves in their own trap. They could have followed peace. I made a video years ago called What Was Hitler's Biggest Mistake in World War II? And I said the biggest mistake was joining the war, getting involved in the war. Peace is the answer. War is not the answer. Don't listen to CNN, Fox News Network, Columbia Broadcaster Network. War is not the answer. If you think war will make your country free or safe, you're living in a delusion. It's a fantasy world. Don't believe it. Don't believe the lies. Germany believed the lies. Look at all the millions of people that were killed. Don't believe the lies. You say that's a propaganda video you're making. Naturally, these videos are only made for propaganda reasons. I think you probably noticed that early on. Okay, Alex, any last comments?
Well, I was just wondering. I believe if if Hitler did not go into the war, I believe Hitler would still be in charge of Germany and somewhat like what's his name was in charge of his other country.
You don't mean today. You're not talking about today. He would not be 130 years old today. You understand? People do not live that long. I don't know what you
well,
might mean.
maybe his family would be in charge, not him.
Yeah, maybe the ruling party. Yeah, okay, not him personally. Okay, now if you say the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or maybe his family, maybe he would have married Eva Braun, who was much younger and had children. Where okay, that I can believe. That's plausible. But when you say when you start talking about time machines and Hitler today, no, then we're going off into realms of flights of fancy. All right, now let's look at the last comments, and then I'm going to get off the air. Here, Churchill was a sellout for the elite, says Iron Man Spartan. Oh, maybe so, but an effective one. An effective sellout. The Spitfire was better than the ME-109. Yes, the British always had better equipment. Ronnie says, if you're really interested in looking into that topic, Sauce Money, there's a large list of books on the LouRockwell.com that was posted yesterday. A great list of, yes, I looked at that list and I agree with all of it. Well, no, war is good in any matter, but justifiable in America's end is the fact that we were attacked by Japan after baiting them. That's true, Sauce Money. If I bother somebody for months and harass them, they might attack me, and then I could say, oh, look what you did. You attacked me. All I did was pester the hell out of you for 6 months. Why would you do that? I was, I could say that. Had most of our allies in Europe taken over by a regime hell-bent on destroying us. No, I would like to, what are you saying? When was Germany hell-bent on destroying the United States? Where can you justify that? Germany was trying to avoid war with the United States. I don't know what you're saying here. That list of books refutes the nonsense we were all taught in our government-controlled schools about the good war. It's a great topic to look into, says Ronnie. Ronnie's right. Okay, man, I understand there's plenty of books that go against my opinion, but do you really think it would have been a good thing to just two fascist nations take over half the world? Who was taking over half the world? Do you know how big the world is? I think the Russians are not good in World War II, all the rape and murder of German civilians, says Iron Man Spartan. We don't defend any atrocities of the war, whether they were committed by the Allies or the Axis. Ronnie says, well, if you read the books or any articles on the topic, or even just watch some of Ron's videos, you'll understand what you just said wasn't the case. Sauce Money said, you should read Man in the High Castle or Fatherland and tell me if you really want to live in a world like that. Why would Ronnie have to live in a world like that? Ronnie said, neither Germany nor Japan were taking over half the world. But I understand why you would think that. We've been fed those lines our whole lives. Right. Ronnie's right. That's what we've been fed. We're not eating anymore. We're not eating these lies anymore. Ronnie said the American government in particular needs everyone to consider World War II as the good war so they can always go back to it while given reasons to start new wars all over the world. That's right. Sauce Money said, I have to disagree with you completely. You're misunderstanding history. No, Ronnie's not misunderstanding history. Ronnie's given the actual understanding of history, not the CNN, CBS, modified fantasy world. Even if the Germans had taken over Europe, I'm sure National Socialism would still have collapsed eventually, like every socialist system, says SOFA. Maybe, I don't know. Cuba's still socialist, right? The United States is still mostly socialist, so I don't know if it would have collapsed. All right, anyway, thanks for joining this fascinating video production.
Hey, Ron, wait a minute, before you get off, what about the 1,000-year Reich? Because that's what Hitler believed before he died.
Well, I mean, you can believe whatever you want. He said it could last 1,000 years. It lasted 12. So, I mean, I can make all kind of predictions myself. Doesn't mean much.
All right. I was just asking you. That's all.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of talk, a bunch of government propaganda is all it was. It's just a bunch of talk. Doesn't mean anything. All right, thanks for watching this video production, folks.
Thanks, Ron. Talk to you later, my man.
All right, y'all, and have a good day. I'll probably be going to work soon.
All right, you